Resident Evil 2 is one of my favorite games of all time. Resident Evil 2 Remake is not, simply because it sacrifices the original story depth to rather focus on dramatic scenes, resulting in a shallow feeling narrative. Think of it like Avatar: The Last Airbender in its remake. The live action looks prettier, but fails to capture the magic of the original cartoon. Remake 2 fails the original in 3 significant ways. 1. Having our main characters never talk to each other. 2. Leon being too naive to the point of looking stupid. And 3. Claire's forgotten theme of how women are treated as objects. But before we dive into exploring our two heroes, let's talk about how Claire and Leon interact with each other. Or I should rather say, how they don't interact with each other at all. I'm slightly exaggerating here, of course. They do interact with each other a total of 3 separate times. Once in the intro, then in the beginning of Act 1, and lastly in the last 5 minutes of the game. Other than those moments, the story acts like our heroes have completely forgotten one another, even though there will be moments in the plot where they should want to contact each other. One of these moments occurs when Chief Irons kidnaps Sherry. As soon as Claire frees herself, she should immediately radio Leon for help, but she doesn't, which is odd. Claire views Sherry like a little sister. She should be doing everything in her power she can to save Sherry. Leon is currently somewhere else, and he might run into the Chief, providing him a chance to save Sherry. Claire and Leon are supposed to act like a team. They depend on one another, and the original shows that multiple times. 1. Claire asks Leon to find a way out while she tries to search for Sherry.
But it's too dangerous for her to stay here alone. Leon, I'll go look for her. You go and find us a way out of here.
Of course.
2. Leon asks Claire to look for Ada. And 3. Claire asks Leon to take Sherry to safety. The remake doesn't include this dynamic between our protagonists. They act like they don't even know each other for most of the game, and I know the reason as to why. The lead writer, Brent Friedman, wrote the 2 stories as alternate realities of each other, meaning after the 2 heroes meet at the RPD, they're transported to different dimensions. That feels like a huge disservice to the original because it made great efforts into making its 2 stories feel like they were happening at the same time. There's nothing wrong when we're reimagining a story, but we should elevate the original strengths, not take them away. Because if you do, it results in the story feeling more shallow. It further reinforces my belief that the lead writer had no understanding of his characters and his plot. And the person that suffers the most from this lack of understanding is Leon.
I want to find out what's happening here and stop whoever's behind it. Helping people like them? That's why I joined the force.
Leon's main issue stems from how the writer portrays Leon with his naivety. He should always want to do the right thing, no matter what. Instead, he wants to do the right thing, but he's more concerned about following the law first. He's so worried about the law, in fact, that he's willing to leave innocent people for dead if he doesn't have the proper permission to save them. Which leads me to the first 2 scenes that highlight his ludicrous obsession with authority. I'm specifically referring to his interaction with Ben. Here's a quick overview of what happens in this scene. Leon stumbles across Ben. Ben asks Leon to free him and mentions that Chief Irons was the one who locked him up in the first place. Leon then says, "No can do, I need to get permission from the Chief first to free you." Ben rightfully freaks out because he knows that's a certain death sentence. Then Ben dies, to which Leon just shrugs his shoulders at. Can you spot the 2 glaring issues with this? I'll start with the most obvious. Leon has no reason to believe Chief Irons is alive, let alone that the Chief is still in the police station. I'm confident in believing that Marvin would have told Leon about the Chief if Marvin thought the Chief was still alive and kicking, but Marvin never does. So when Leon says this,
Sorry, I can't do that. I have to talk to the Chief first.
what Leon is actually saying is, "Sorry Ben, I gotta go on a wild goose chase to get permission to free you. I know leaving you here is a certain death, but oh well, my hands are tied." It makes Leon just seem dense when he does this, and it also makes him unintentionally cruel. Doubly so when Ben does get killed, because Leon doesn't really give a fuck when he should give one. Leon views everyone's safety as his personal responsibility since he's an officer of the law. Leon might have been able to save Ben if he tried to free him first. But Ben's death doesn't affect Leon at all, which is completely out of character for him when we compare Leon to his original portrayal. First, we see that Leon is actively trying to save Ben. It's ironically Ben who doesn't want to be saved. Ben is too cowardly to leave the safety of his cell. The story kills Ben as punishment for his lack of action. The game is trying to signal to us one of its main themes. That theme being, take initiative in your survival. If you don't, the things trying to kill you will take the initiative. We also see Leon get pretty upset at Ben's death.
Hang in there, Ben.
To Leon, this is a huge failure on his behalf. Again, he views everyone's safety as his responsibility because he is a police officer. Leon demonstrates his nobleness in this scene, something the remake completely misses in its retelling of events. So here's how we fix it. Ben wouldn't die on your first time meeting with him. You'd actually meet him again once you came back with all the electronic parts. Just as Leon is about to open Ben's cell, a scary noise blares out. Ben would then freak out and demand that Leon take care of whatever that was. Then Mr. X grabs Ben and would mortally wound him instead. Leon would try to save Ben, but it'd be too late. Ada would then enter the scene, she would see everything in front of her, and then tell Leon to suck it up. Leon, in response to this, would call Ada heartless, and Ada would look away in shame, then leave. We would be keeping Leon's nobleness intact, while also keeping the theme about survival too. And finally, we'd be adding some character development to both Ada and Leon, because these two are supposed to fall in love with each other by the end of the game, but I have a hard time believing that, because as we're about to see in the cable car, Ada falling in love with Leon only happens because the plot demands it. Here's a recap of the scene. Ada tells Leon he's not working in official capacity. Leon gets upset at this because he thinks Ada is telling him he can't do anything anymore. Ada then tries to manipulate Leon into getting the G sample for her with a kiss. Now, are you ready to get into the problems? Good.
Let's do this.
First of all, the entire conversation is unnecessary to the plot. Ada doesn't need to manipulate Leon here. He's already agreed to stop Umbrella. It makes no sense for her to try and manipulate Leon even further. It's not like he's showing any doubts or hesitation about it. If anything, it's quite the opposite. He's ecstatic to help put an end to Umbrella and get the G sample for Ada. So why does he get upset here after Ada mentions he's not working in official capacity? Leon still gets to accomplish his main goal either way. All Ada is basically saying to Leon at this point is he doesn't need to bother with the paperwork after this is all over. We're led to believe that Leon cares more about having the proper authority than he does about stopping Umbrella.
You said it yourself. It's a federal case. I don't
Leon,
have the authority.
Look at me.
That is him being lawful stupid. He shouldn't care at all about what status he's working in. He's here now and he is going to do the right thing, no matter what. The original didn't have any of these problems when we look back to it. It played things differently for starters. Ada gets gravely injured here instead, causing her to open up about herself. She then tries and fails to manipulate Leon into saving himself and leaving her behind.
You'll be in danger if you stay with me. I know I've only known you for a short period of time, but I really enjoy being with you. I know I'm not capable of caring about anyone, but I don't want to lose you.
She does this because she genuinely cares about him and wants him to live, but she wants him out of the way so she can accomplish her mission. Even in her most vulnerable moment, Ada is still thinking about herself. You sort of have this in a remake, but it's not as effective in its delivery.
Get yourself out of here. While you still can.
I'm not just gonna leave you. Not like this.
You don't understand. The situation's worse than I thought.
Something the remake needed to do was show how tragic Ada and Leon's love is. Leon is a selfless hero, and Ada is a selfish seductress. They want to be together, but never can be. He's morally white, and she's morally black. I'm sorry for hammering away at this, but I want you to see the depth that's on display here. The remake doesn't have any depth in its portrayal of Ada and Leon's love. What it needed to do was follow the original more closely. Have Ada get gravely injured here instead, and give her a moment to open up about herself. Doing this would help make the audience care about Ada, because we actually don't learn much about her in the remake. You can say that's done intentionally because she's mysterious. I say it's because her entire character feels forced. Look no further for proof in how she treats Leon. She always talks to him in a rude, condescending fashion. Even when she compliments him, it's done in a backhanded way. It would be fine if she acted like this in the early stages of the game, but she remains consistent in her bad attitude. Again, this would be fine if she was at least portrayed competently, but she's not. And I'm going to list out Ada's accomplishments in both the remake and the original right now. So, in the remake, we have Ada saving Leon from a dog, and then she stonewalls any useful information from him. Then, Leon finds a way out of the RPD while Ada sits in a truck. Then, Ada fails at capturing Annette. Then she gets rescued. And then lastly, she sits idly by on the cable car while Leon does her job. Now here's what Ada does in the original. She first asks Leon for help in moving a truck. She then looks for a way to the secret lab. She then finds a way to the secret lab. She succeeds in confronting Annette. She then gets the G sample. And lastly, she sacrifices her life in saving Leon while also confessing her love for him. Based off of these two versions of Ada, which one sounds better to you? The remake doesn't bother making Ada likable. The writer assumes you will already like her because you're familiar with the other games. So, here's how I would have wrote Ada. I'd make it so Ada would still come off as cold and brash, but she would slowly warm up to Leon over the course of the game. Her snarky jabs would turn into playful teasing, for example. We'd be keeping her sarcasm intact while making her more likable to players. But again, the writer doesn't do any of this. Why? Because he doesn't understand his characters, even when it comes to simple stuff like their backstories. Ada's cover identity as an FBI agent seems counterproductive in completing her mission. Ada is trying to find Ben because he knows a way to get to Umbrella's secret lab. Remember, Ben is imprisoned by the corrupt Chief Irons. So, if an FBI agent starts poking their nose around the RPD trying to find out about Ben, the Chief would immediately catch wind of this and alert William Birkin, resulting in acquiring the G-Virus all the more difficult for Ada. Now, you might counter these points by saying Ada doesn't know about Chief Irons' corruption, but I have two things to say to that. 1. Ada knows Umbrella controls all of Raccoon City, and 2. Before the events of RE2, Ada dated an Umbrella scientist named John. She only dated John to pump him full of information. Ergo, Ada disguising herself as an FBI agent would draw too much attention to herself. She's a spy after all. She wants to be under the radar as much as possible. Another issue she'd face posing as an FBI agent would arise whenever she meets survivors. Imagine if you were in a zombie outbreak and you ran into an FBI agent. What would be the first thing you'd ask them? I'd probably request for them to call in a rescue, like a helicopter. But thankfully for Ada's sake, Leon never asks about a rescue, even though he knows him and Claire still need to find a way out of the city. Now let's compare how the original handled Ada's backstory. Before you think I'm going to praise it, I need to first point out that it does have its problems. The original made Ada a concerned girlfriend looking for her missing boyfriend John. A concerned girlfriend braving a zombie outbreak just sounds too far-fetched to me. Yet, you were never expecting much from Ada in this game. To Leon, she was just another survivor trapped in the same nightmare. That made it all the more shocking seeing her in action.
Too bad.
You might have guessed on first meeting that Ada was lying about her reasons for being there in the first place, but you never knew exactly why she was lying. I actively like the change of her posing as an FBI agent in the remake. It just needed some more time and thought put into it. That's the whole issue with Leon's story summed up. He needed more time and thought put into his narrative. The remake has Leon as a reactive character. He's following someone else's orders and always concerning himself with the law in every situation. Luckily for us, Claire stayed true to her character in the remake. The writer did a fantastic job expanding how much Claire cares about Sherry. Unfortunately for us, the writer missed the crucial sub-theme in Claire's story that was present in the original, how women are viewed as objects. We first encounter this theme in the first few minutes of the game. When you meet Kendo as Leon, Kendo treats him normally.
Sorry about that. I thought you were one of them.
However, when you meet him as Claire, he's more creepy in his demeanor.
Ooh. Sorry about that, babe. I thought you were one of them.
What's going on in this town?
Hold on. I ain't got no clue, darling. But don't you worry, girlie. You'll be safe in here. I'm keeping a close eye on things.
He views Claire as an object that needs to be protected, while with Leon, he views him as a person. The next character on the list that explores this theme is Chief Irons. Chief Irons sees people as his personal belongings. To him, women only serve the purpose of pleasuring him aesthetically and physically. And lastly, we have William Birkin. William Birkin views women as tools for his own agenda. He sees his daughter as nothing more than a personal incubator for him to implant his embryo in. We play as Claire through all of this, a rebellious badass who stands in opposition of these viewpoints. She demonstrates to Kendo that she doesn't need protection. She also shows Chief Irons that she won't be another object for him to control for his own selfish pleasures. She's a human being who makes her own decisions. She teaches Sherry that people can care about her, and she's more important than just her genes. I need to applaud the feminist theme the original incorporated with Claire's story. It played a major role in cementing Claire as one of the best RE characters. That's why I'm so unsatisfied the remake didn't implement any of this theme in its retelling of Claire's story. If anything, it actively shies away from it. We don't get this horrifying scene of William Birkin finding his daughter. Chief Irons also gets demoted into just a two-dimensional bad guy. He used to be a twisted psychopath that viewed everyone as his personal objects. But in the remake, he's now just a psychopath who hurts kids. That's a writer's lazy way of making their antagonists instantly hateable. The remake can't even be bothered to give Chief Irons a proper motivation in his actions. It is never explained anywhere in the game about why he wants Sherry's pendant. He just needs it because the plot demands it. The remake needed to give a rhythm to Chief Irons' madness. He's a psychopath, not a lunatic. He has a reason for his evil deeds. He doesn't just do them for the sake of being evil like he's the devil. Annette has the opposite problem. She is constantly flip-flopping between her motivations. One minute she wants to save her daughter Sherry, the next minute she doesn't care if her daughter dies right in front of her, and rinse and repeat. Brent Friedman described Annette as being in grief. However, I must question, what is she in grief about? Is it her mutated husband? No, that can't be it, because she doesn't even really love him. Maybe Annette is in grief because she couldn't save her daughter from her monstrous husband. Well, no, that can't be it either, because Annette is willing to let Sherry die.
Sherry's been implanted. She can't be saved.
It's apparent to me the writer didn't understand Annette's story arc. Her story is about someone tied between their two loves, her daughter and her work. That's what William represents to Annette. He is a physical symbol of her monstrous love for her G-Virus. It's her misplaced love for her research that gets her killed in the first place. She realizes in her dying moments that Sherry was more deserving of her love. Annette still has this revelation in the remake, and I do believe it's done better, but it's brought down by Annette's inconsistency with her character. Like I've said, Annette is okay with her daughter dying. The remake keeps showing us how bad of a mom Annette is, which is unnecessary. She already proved how bad of a mom she is by abandoning her daughter when the outbreak started. And speaking of Sherry, let's talk about her for a moment. I have to be honest here, I don't have much to say about Sherry. She is your generic kid character in a horror movie. That is to say, she's only used as a plot device. Don't get me wrong, I don't dislike Sherry. She's a lot better than other children characters in games. So the remake didn't hurt Sherry's story, but it didn't take the chance to improve it either, and I think that's a waste of potential. Wouldn't it be interesting if we gave Sherry a negative character arc? Sherry would end the game as a worse person than a better one. We could implement this when Sherry sees her mom die. This would serve as a triggering point for Sherry. She now realizes she will always be alone. Her parents didn't bother with her when she was growing up, and now they're gone. Yeah, Claire does take care of her right now, but she knows that her and Claire won't be together forever. Sherry would hate that she's entirely helpless. She would then vow to herself to become independent so she never has to rely on someone else again. And she would make this oath in the epilogue. Sherry would say that the group needs to keep moving. Leon or Claire would tell her not to worry, everything is done and over with. In response, Sherry would say, quote, "No, it'll never be over, but next time, I'll be ready," end quote. Then the screen would fade to black. You'd be left wondering if Sherry is about to follow in her parents' obsessive behavior in achieving a goal. I think it'd be a more fitting ending than the sappy one the remake gives us, which doesn't leave the audience wondering about what's next to come for our heroes. The remake never gives its audience anything to think about either because the story lacks any meaningful depth. It failed in improving upon the original Resident Evil 2 story, wasting its potential. The other remakes repeat the same mistake. RE3 completely botches its main character, Nemesis, and RE4 chose to be dramatized realism instead of campy fun. I feel like the remake for RE5 will repeat this pattern. It will forgo anything about the original and refocus itself on achieving realism. The real question is whether Capcom will ever realize its mistake. I doubt it. Capcom will keep doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. It's almost as if no one has told them the definition of insanity. Hello, I'm the android sent by the Umbrella Corporation. Special thank you to Freddles Beddles, aka Freddles Buddy. He's responsible for the amazing thumbnail for this video and assisted as well in its production. If you think this video deserves a like, then please be my guest and leave me one. And remember this, your place is with your people, and the only way you can join your people is to subscribe. So thank you again guys, and I will see you next time.